Right, rather than ramble and give you a whole long video to pick up the salient points, all you've got to remember, let's have a look here, is an inch and a quarter projection from the bar, the stainless bar, to the end of the chisel, and a couple of 3mm pieces of material. These are polycarbonate. Anything will do, doesn't matter, as long as it's reasonably dense, uniform, doesn't soak or swell too much in contact with your lubrication or slurry or whatever you're going to use. So that's it basically, that's all you need to remember. Inch and a quarter projection, 2 bits of 3mm, and that will give you 25 and 30mm bevels on the edge of your chisel. And believe you me, these things are wickedly sharp. That's from a couple of days ago, and I'm still going to keep the plaster on. Because the bevel itself is flat and not rounded, its penetrating power seems to multiply. But the whole idea of using honing guides, and this is Richard Kell no. 2, which from August 13 will now have large rollers. These large rollers are wonderful, less chance of dirt getting in the rotating surfaces. There is controlled slop, it's not bad engineering, it's meant to be like that. And if you just flush it out in hot detergent, it'll do all you want. Or a little bit of spray with WD-40. I think the hot detergent is a better idea. And so we'll start, and it's also quick to adjust. So that's all you're going to remember. Inch and a quarter projection. It'll give you 2 angles by means of the 3mm risers. I don't offer these in the product list in the inventory yet. Possibly, I'm hoping end users can somehow work that out themselves. And so what we need to do is draw the 2 polycarbs together, which we've got for grip. It's very easy to adjust. 70mm max, 2 5/8 easy, down to 0. Absolutely wonderful. And because it grips on the side, squareness is guaranteed. That's assuming, of course, the chisel is parallel and uniform. I can't handle every occurrence. So there we go, let's have a go. It's easy to adjust. There we go, down. There we go, back to full extent. Couldn't be quicker, couldn't be easier. So what we're going to do is stick the chisel underneath, roughly where we want it. That's it. Never work on top of your stones. This is where it gets to be the talky bit, and it's going to be a bit slower. But again, all you need to remember, inch and a quarter, 3mm packing for your finishing operation. So first thing is, set to inch and a quarter. That's it. Tighten a little bit with your fingers. Now what I've started to do is to add another operation to this. When I press down, this is a little sharpening station I've made. I think it's very useful, a very good way to do it. Press down with your left hand. You've basically got a 3-point system there. Pressure from your hand, 2 wheels. So it should level itself. The idea is it levels itself to the 2 stainless rollers. We know it's set to 1 inch and a quarter. Just a little tight touch. Can't describe how light that touch is. Just to stop it slipping. Because in your work you need to retain this setting as you move from your coarse stone to your finishing. I'm very old fashioned, I like to be. It's an Alexite rougher. It's a very open bond, sold by Tilgear 15 years ago for very little money, termed a flattening stone. Lovely things to sharpen, I do like Alexite. And then this is an Arkansas finishing stone. It's lain in the box for 30 years. I've got another one as a bench stone, which is most uneven, but it works well enough for turn engravers, so we just leave that at the workshop. My granddad's old oil stone box. And so what we'll do is give it a little bit of oil. I don't normally use oil, this is because I'm at the house. And watch out for contamination. Do not contaminate your stones. That's why I'm touching the finishing stone first and then onto the rougher. This really does soak up. Because once you've set your stones up, once you've set your chisels up, to reset them, to resharpen, takes an absolute minimum of time. That's the whole idea of a good honing jig, is that once you've got your kit of chisels established with the jig, then you can quickly retouch. In fact, you shouldn't need to go onto the rougher. But I'll work through it anyway. So here we are, and for an absolute beginner, just lay the thing down, okay? This is a plain surface, P-L-A-N-E. The thing is level, there's a little bit of 8 thou packing, 2 pieces of copy of paper and a strip, because We know that copier paper is 4 thou thick, cigarette papers are 1 thou, and these are very handy for the toolmaker. Those are 2 strips at 150 thou because that is 150 thou thinner than that. And then just to make the whole gizmo work, I've got about a quarter mil, oh no, I've got about 20 thou, half a mil packing under there because somehow there's an outer flatness somewhere. But it's only MDF and it's only, this is FR4 glass fibre laminate. I used to use a lot of this in wave solder jigs for electronics where they send a circuit board over a solder wave. That was a good part of my business for about a decade until the technology advanced and licensed materials were used, but it's still handy to have a few bits around. Right, waffle. Run it up and down, get the feel of it, get the feel without touching. And be careful, this is a soft porous surface. Lower the chisel gently, you're not fighting anything, you're not having a war with anyone. There we go. And because it's a honing jig, you can work anywhere on your stone. There we go. There we go. Whoops, you boys. Obviously, you need to engage brain before you do the work. Never mind. So there we go. And I was going to say, that's a funny stuff, is for the last couple of strokes I generally work on the middle of the stone. Okay? Now we want to clean it, no cross-contamination. When you clean an edge like this, please never wipe the rag across that way. That utterly makes me cringe. Underneath, on top, and draw off. Okay? Underneath, on top, draw away. Please, you do that. Right, we've established a burr. That is what we're after. That means we're on to removing edge material. And now, by means of the 2 bits of 3 mil, we'll work at that side of the stone today, to the left. There we go. And so, again, if this is your first time, get an idea of it, get a feel of it. This material is UHMWPE, a real mouthful. I just call it ultra high molecular. Its real name is full name is ultra high molecular. Ultra high molecular weight polyethylene. It's used in human anatomy joints that are replaced, bulletproof vests, cutting boards. You could use a cutting board, and it repels absorption. So it's used in the food processing industry. So you've got food processing lines and machinery, and the gunge does not stick. Incredible. Dimensionally stable, very low friction, which is what we want. So what I intend to do is still supply the number 1 with the small Ertolite rollers, because there are certain people, certain users that this works perfectly for. Little tiny cutters for bassoonists and woodwind players, and also people with little tiny Japanese chisels and small Luthiers irons, that sort of thing. But for general purposes, everything, any chisel, how narrow, or a plain iron, how wide, this is the bee's knees. I'm very excited about this. So we've got an initial bevel on there, rough ground bevel. And then, literally, all I'm going to do is give it 2 runs up and down here. 1, 2, done. Do it again. 1, 2, that's all you need. Again, underneath, on top, away. That's it. That's it, we've done it. So we'll place this down on the board, release it. Once we've finished, we think we're finished. You can still keep it in the jig if you like. And what I want to do here is just wipe that. No, it's clean, yes. Lower gently. And see in your mind's eye what your fingers are telling you. Again, underneath, on top, away. See in your mind's eye. Develop a picture in your mind's eye through your fingers, from your fingers, of what is happening. So there we are. What we want to do now, the old fellas used to do this, is feel for any irregularities. We want to feel evenness as we make contact with that extreme edge. Yes, the burr has been handled properly. It's eradicated. We assume what is left there is the most incredible sharp edge. That's it, set up. So once you're in the workshop, you've got all your tools set up, all your chisels that you want to use daily. All you need to do is just whip them in the honing guide. I shove the end of the handle into my belly, not actually physically in, we're not in a hurry carry yet, and then tighten, back over, release, grip, done. Again, you can put it onto your Fingers and thumbs today. I'm trying to get a lot done actually. I've got to go to the workshop and do a lot of work. Again, couple of runs. That's only 2 runs. We've got a burr. 2 strokes and we're done. Just imagine if you've got very expensive chisels, how long they'll last because of using this guide. Isn't that amazing? The less metal removed, the better. And so we'll whiz that off. Very slight grip. Again, feel it's clean. Yeah. Lower down gently. Yeah. Beautiful. Done. Underneath, on top, away. Good. Blimey, these are good. These are good. I'm very pleased indeed. We've got a little one which is a 6mm Stanley. I was never very keen on this to start with because I'm used to old tools. So I was always wondering about the narrow necking of that. Never mind, just below the bolster or whatever. We wonder. So what we'll do is we've set it up already. 1.25 inches because I want to make a quick film. I'm trying to work through this quickly so people can get the action, the main points without having to wait around forever. But I did a little experiment, and that is coat the end with a felt tip pen. Now what we're looking for here is repeatability. So in other words, you've been out in the workshop, you've dulled the edge of that chisel. You want to get back into action, your ideas are flowing, energies are directed towards a project. You don't want to fanny on all day with this thing. You want to do this literally within 30 seconds, back on the job. 30 seconds max. So we've reset it, we've put it in. Let's do a cruel little test. It's a horrible little overweight. Yeah, let's get this balanced. Yeah, we're okay. We're working. We'll shift it over to the other end of the stone, to the other side of the stone. Look, we needn't work on the same part. Okay, lower gently. Okay. 2 light strokes, that's all I've done. 2 light strokes. Now let's feel. Yes, we've got a burr. Isn't that fantastic? And also as well, the important thing is, if we look at what we've done, we can see there's a uniform bevel. That bevel is parallel across the width. Obviously a little bit of nomenclature. That's the underside of the chisel, the non-bevel face. That is the bevel face, the top side of the chisel. So we've put a horned finishing bevel on there. Engineers would call that parallel land, L-A-N-D. It's a land. If you were sharpening milling cutters on a tool and cutter grinder, the final sharpened edge that does the cutting is actually a land. And you'll have directions of so many thou width, 10 thou, 5 thou, well 10 thou, yeah. And when the land becomes too great, in other words when you're honing too much length of metal back, then you shift back onto roughing again. But of course it's all controlled. Another interesting point as well is when I've ground away some of the material we need for clearance, I've done it on the side of the wheel, but I've also, if we've got the wheel going round here, used a slight rocking motion. Obviously exaggerated, not but just a little bit, plus or minus 10 degrees as the wheel, the grinding wheel is rotating. So in actual fact that rough ground surface has a slight camber, like the camber in a road. I don't know, it just seems to be a fancy an idea of mine, but it seems to work. So the interesting thing is we've set it back up in the jig there, and we can just see, let's try and get that right, bad eyes Richard, yeah, we can just see the beautiful parallel land, the beautiful parallel bevel. That means we've established all the dimensions correctly and we can touch up a chisel quickly. That's what it's all about, to get back onto the job, to touch up quickly. That'll probably hand release. No, it won't. Just beyond hand release, better. Work away from your stones. Work away from your stones. So these are absolutely fantastic. I'm already working overtime to make stock for people that are going to call on these. And it's only until now that by being pressed from the man from Ohio, I've actually worked out how to make the rollers effectively, how to make them comfortably, so I'm happy with the process. Because I have to make everything manually. So I need everything to run smooth, to flow smoothly. Interesting thing is though, my number 3 guide, the big brass things, Matthew's very keen on this at Workshop Heaven. I'm very grateful for that. Matthew has pushed this and made people realise, even Rob, who was a die-hard, thinks it's a wonderful thing, has spent a lot of time on it. But because, for instance, on a mortise chisel we're interested in this non-bevel underside as the datum, which we're interested primarily, the sides can interfere when you come to set it into this type of side clamp jig. We don't know for sure, this was made a long time ago, 100 years ago, so we don't know for sure how square these sides are. They're pretty good, but it's not right in the number 2. So what you really need to do, obviously it's got to be the brass number 3. And this particular mortise chisel will only function in the deep throat version. You can get a conversion kit from me, which increases the distance from the datum plate, which has 2 stainless steel pins, to the 1/2 inch axle, with those light rollers, but a different size of roller from number 1. And that gap in there is just not great enough to get the chisel and clamp in. And what's interesting as well, which a lot of people don't perhaps realise, is that when you do clamp this thing in the number 3, you can actually put a clamp in from the front side. You can do it from the front. You needn't be always clamping from the back. Stick one in from the front, you'll be amazed what you can achieve. Also as well, a point of interest, I don't know if we can get the light to catch on this. Can we get the light to catch? There we are. We can see a strip, that's the high carbon steel that's been hammer or fire welded to a softer iron or low carbon steel back. Obviously you're not going to use your precious 19th century high carbon steel for a complete chisel, you don't want that. Also as well, when you harden and temper, you don't want the thing completely hardened. It could be a point of weakness, though in this section I doubt weakness. Or perhaps dimensional instability, or perhaps it could crack. When you harden things, that can happen as well. So all you need is a facing of high carbon steel, but that shows up beautifully, that old... I'm looking through the camera window here trying to pick this up. I wonder if I can pick that up. Isn't that gorgeous? So anyway, because this beautiful thing is so big, let's measure it. It's 9/16 wide. It's a 9/16 mortise chisel, okay? But at that point here, roughly where you'll be clamping, it's actually 5/8, which means you have to use a deep throat. I'll get a conversion kit for number 3, my number 3 guide, to function effectively. And interestingly, that swirly pattern on there is done by hand, and the same thing is on some ornamental turning equipment that I've got. I have an ornamental turning lathe 1895, and that's on a lot of the gear. It's not Holzapfel, it's even rarer than a Holz. So that's quite lovely. That's another piece of OT gear. I've written on this in the workshop blog. I think about a year or so ago. It's a nice article, lots of lovely photographs. That's a goniostat, and it has 2 feet, and the third point is the actual tool itself. It's so that if someone is cutting a complicated pattern in a piece of ornamental turning work, if it's the type of cutter that will allow it, you can put it back into this and you can repeat your settings. There we are. We're going to sharpen at right angles there, and we can swing this down. And this is even rarer. I'm going to oil this all up later on because you'd never touch this with sweaty hands. But the quality of manufacture and design, these men were consummate artists. I look at this stuff and this is what I still aim for. It's absolutely wonderful. Wow, I've had this in the house since I was just 18 when I bought the lathe. So it's been something that has influenced me. Same with my dad. He never taught me much, but the books were there, and you learn to be self-reliant. And as we can see, I don't know which way the camera's got to be for this, Keren Dublin. It's rarer than a Holzapfel. That's wonderful. And that's how the number 2 arrives. You've got a beautiful little biodegradable gummed paper strip and cardboard tube. That's what it is. Wonderful. I'm very pleased with that as well, actually. Pleased with it all. Here's the retrofit kit. You get 2 of these rollers. They're not cheap, I'm sorry, but I don't do cheap. And of course, as stated before, that is the number 1 in its original form, which I'll continue to supply. So what you've got to remember is no cross-contamination. Inch and 1/4. I started with inch and 3/8 originally, but now we're down to inch and 1/4 projection, 2 bits of 3mm polycarb, and you can whip your chisels off as fast as lightning. All you need to do is reset, get on a couple of strokes on the finishing stone. It's done. That's it. You're back on the project. Couldn't be better. I've tried using different thicknesses. I've got some 5mm material. I've got some 1mm, but there's no need for them. It's unnecessary. Forget about that. 2 bits of 3mm. That's all you need. And of course, this is your little sharpening station, and it works perfectly. What I did actually the other day is collect a whole load of. You can't see that. That's pencil. 6H, I think. And lots of data at the workshop, and I plotted a graph. I have a graph here that's been plotted that allows me to read chisel projection to resultant angle, which is quite interesting. I might actually I'll get this onto the web. I don't think I'll put it onto the leaflet because we need a small leaflet when it accompanies the goods. So remember, no cross-contamination. When you wipe your chisel, underneath, on top and away, please. And for God's sake, watch your fingers. I can't be liable for anything that happens once these are out of my sight. But clear people away. This needs to be a quiet operation. And remember about using feedback from your fingers when you're finishing the underside, removing the burr. Use your fingers to feel, to tell you what's going on. Picture in your mind's eye what is actually happening. Your fingers and your brain will tell you far more than your eyes will many times. It's all called craftsmanship, isn't it? Tool control, hand memory, that sort of thing. So that's it, that's an overview, and I hope you enjoy this new guide as much as I do. I'm absolutely chuffed with this. Absolutely amazing. We're busy working up stock now, we need to, because this thing will fly. Okay, thanks very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.